Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening to all the audience of Drug Development Diaries. We are here again with another episode. I'm your host, Vihang. We have been running this series of different episodes on this YouTube channel, Drug Development Diaries, where we are discussing a book that we released last year called Approved, The Life Cycle of Drug Development. In this book, through several chapters, we have discussed the process of drug development from discovery till production, manufacturing, quality, as well as different novel therapy areas such as gene therapy, cell therapy, so on and so forth. One interesting aspect of this book is that it contains stunning graphics, stunning visuals, infographics, which help in illustrating this subject in a very lucid manner, in a very simplified manner. And although our authors who wrote these chapters are experts in their areas, drawing and painting or making graphics to visually convey the story is a completely different ballgame. And to make this happen in a very nicer and cleaner manner, we took help of graphic designers. And these graphic designers are not like just trained commercial graphic designers; they are scientists by themselves. They have studied biology, biotechnology, immunology, and these topics, so they understand what is art, they also understand what is science, and they have brilliantly combined these skills together to support making these stunning visuals for the book Approved, The Life Cycle of Drug Development. So before I get started, I would like to welcome Naren sir on this call, who is going to introduce our guest. And as our guests, we have today Dr. Riya, Sibiraj, and Kit. So over to you, sir. Please introduce our guest and we get the episode going.
Yeah, no, thank you, Vihang. Thank you, Vihang, very much. So, as Vihang mentioned, this is this is going to be a very exciting episode. Very maybe different from the other episodes that we've talked about. So, let me introduce our guests today briefly, and then I'm going to ask them to give a little bit more detailed introduction. So, let's start with Ketki Kamte. She is a graphic designer at Symphony Tech Biologics, and she's got a lot of experience in developing these technologies. One aspect of her is the dedication by which and the patience by which she made. I think she probably made more than 100 figures for one or two chapters, and the back and forth, that was just amazing. So that's Ketki. Ketki, I don't know if you're able to put on your video, but Ria, I have known for now a couple of years now. Vihang introduced me to her, and she's a professor at Boston University, and I'm going to ask her to introduce herself. But I never knew she has a PhD, and but I never knew this angle of her, that she's interested in art and she's interested in graphic design and all of that. So the work that she's done is phenomenal. And finally, Sibiraj, of course, again introduced by Vihang, and Sibiraj and I have had such interesting conversations about. Every figure requires some kind of a discussion. You can't just say, okay, make this figure and it happen. And Sibiraj is one person who sort of constantly questioned me, do we really need this? Can we do this? Can we do this? So this is something that he did. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. And since Ketki has to leave a little bit early, but let's start with Ketki. Ketki, Tula, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello everybody.
Yes.
My Ketki Kamte, and I'm a graphic designer. I'm working with Naren sir for a book, and it is great experience for me. And I'm learning a lot of things from this book. And thank you, sir.
Thank you.
for the
Welcome.
opportunity.
Welcome. Maybe Ria can go next.
Yeah, hello everyone, and it's wonderful meeting you all after a long time. So first of all, thank you, Naren sir, for recognizing my work. So I'm Riya, and I'm currently working as an assistant professor at Woxin University. So basically, working with sir is a kind of dream come true even for me, because when I met sir, I was a student. And now I'm a professor, so it's lovely working with sir, and sir is with so much of professionalism. He works, he motivates. That is amazing from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Sibiraj.
Yes, I'm Sibiraj Murugesan. I'm a BTech Biotechnology graduate, and I dabble in psychom illustrations and scientific art. And thank you for having me here, Naren sir. I joined this project totally halfway, and he took me in as a novice. And like he's been such a great source of inspiration to me as well. And uh, I always have this. I'm a very neurodivergent person. I used to come up with like lots of ideas, and he would always be entertaining me. He would never once refuse any of my ideas. I used to come up with so many lot of things, and thank you for being very encouraging all this process.
Welcome to the podcast, Siviraj. So thank you for your introductions. So Ketki, let's start with you. Maybe you can share your experiences on working on the various figures, and you worked for it for more than a year. So maybe you can just share first overall your experiences.
Yes, it is a different experience because I'm working with basically advertisement and web related work. So this work is different because these figures are different for me, and color combination and color theme I'm using very differently than for web and advertisement, because there is we are using mostly bright colors. For this book I'm using very soft colors, so this is a different thing for me, and different kind of images I'm using for that.
Hmm.
So
In terms of color, what soft is there any software that you use that you prefer, or was there what were the technical things that you had to undergo?
yeah, I'm using Illustrator basically for this figure, and again I'm using color schemes, petal color schemes for that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that palette mostly I'm taking from Adobe
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
color sheets.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that thing I'm using, that website I'm basically using
Yeah,
for
and maybe,
this.
uh, and I'll ask you some of the questions first before I go to Ria and Sibiraj, because I know you have to leave. You have to take care of your son.
Yes, yes.
But I know, for example, the couple of chapters that you worked with, the authors were so particular that I want to change this little bit. What I admire about was your patience, right? So my question was, in terms of editing, the how what was your process? How did you, because you made more than 100 figures, what was your process? Where did you
That's
store
right.
these figures? How did you know which figure to come back to? There was so it was and over a period of a year. How did you project manage this?
Yeah, I'm making for each and every chapter. I'm making different folders, different files with that date. So it is very simple for me. Okay, what I am doing for that day, that date, and so back and forth करना इसलिए simple हुआ.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. And
So take sample or we can say pack.
yeah,
It
and
is a better thing.
yeah, so what you did was amazing, and I could not keep track of what was happening in all of this. So, now one final question for you: how did you get into this graphic design? What has been your experience, and how did you get into this field?
Actually, basically, I am engineering student, but during, after some period, I feel that I need to change my field. I'm learning actually animation, and then I go for graphic designing. It's a part of my animation. First, you make graphics, so I try for that, and then I find out that graphic is more uh, better field for me, so I choose that field.
Very nice, very nice, and the work that you do at Symphony Tech is just phenomenal. Thank you for everything that you do. Uh, why don't we
Thank you,
go?
sir.
We'll start with Ria. Ria, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you ended up into graphic designing for science, or we can call it a science illustration. You were doing your PhD back in Shulini when we met first, and I believe research was mostly taking most of your time, and that requires a lot of bandwidth. So how did this bug of drawing and painting and graphic designing came into play, and how did you combine that with your understanding of science and biology?
Yeah, correct. So start with the thing is when I entered into like PhD phase, I was more into towards like creative field, like it's either photography or painting or drawing. So when I entered into PhD, I was like everything is so boring. There are no colors, whole gray life. Everything is so boring. I was like, I'm not finding interest to do any kind of work in PhD because generally guide sends you papers and you have to read all the papers and everything. I was like, I cannot survive even for 1 hour also with this. So then I sat with this. Then I found out that no, in your research papers you cannot draw like hand drawn pictures or something, but you have to make a proper illustration for the diagrams. Then I started searching that okay fine, I have to find some colors during my PhD life. So then I switched into different softwares, illustrators, and then I find that yes, this is actually interesting. And basically my idea of doing research or doing idea when until unless, so whenever I start a paper, I first do the diagram part and then only I can write the paper. That is my way. I don't know if many will understand or not, but until and unless I'll not make the diagram, I cannot write papers. So the first thing first I do, I make all the diagrams, all my mind into a diagrams, and then I'll pitch it to a paper or a magazine or anything whichever piece I'm writing. So from that journey, PhD, after I found it really boring, I switched to graphic designing as my color popping thing into my life. So through this I entered into this graphic designing and art and in this thing entire thing in the PhD.
Wow, that's a very inspiring story, and I totally can relate with you when you say that just reading those grayscale papers is so boring, and
Exactly.
just if you fill it with colors, it becomes way more engaging and interesting. Siviraj, why don't you tell us a little bit? You were studying biotechnology as an undergrad student back in Shulini, and we saw that you have a very keen eye towards making graphics and different illustrations. So tell us a bit about how you came into this.
To be honest, I just wanted to make myself useful at the lab. As an undergraduate student, yeah, there are very less opportunities like that come a long way when you are like working full time in a lab as an assistant. So like one day, my supervisor, he just like he asked me to help on one of the conference posters, and like when I was done with it, he was like really loving it. He told like maybe you got a thing for it, and he started giving me other figures. So I started along there and tried many other things. I tried different mediums and I learned from here and there, and like yeah, and mostly online YouTube videos, and I sort of started liking it. And then I thought like as a part of extension of myself and my own thinking process and research, and it kind of helped me like jot down a lot of ideas and put it down into picture and visualize it better, and I liked it. And that's how like I came into psychomat.
Wow, that's very inspiring. So I would like to ask again all three of you, where do you see this field going as a graphic designing or as a science illustration in general? Do you see that as a career opportunity, or do you see this as something that you can do along with your main research, along with your other profession? How do you see that? And secondly, with the coming age of AI, right, where everything is just prompt based, you put something on a tool and it gives you something out of it. Where do you see science illustration going?
Maybe we can start with Ketki only because she has to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I am from advertisement uh, field. So yes, of course, in advertisement there is lot of variations. Like for printing purpose also, we are using graphic, and for uh, social media, we are also using graphics. So those are fields where we can for graphics as well as in animation. First, basically, we are doing all these things in graphics, and then we will go for animation. So yeah, those are different fields where we can go
Yeah. And how about the use of artificial intelligence? Are you using that at all, or?
for Photoshop. Yes, for Photoshop. For illustration, I'm not using AI, but for for illustration, I'm not using AI. But for photo, yeah, uh, For photos, I'm using that. Yes.
All right, Ria, maybe you want to comment on this?
Yeah, so AI part, which I feel is there is some plus points also of AI tools, and there are some minus points also for AI tools. So it's like this. So in my case, if I'm using AI, generally AI is I generally use AI for any idea. For example, how I want to make the diagram, or how I want that. Suppose someone or some kind of ideas I have in my mind, but I don't know how to put it them in a this thing in a Illustrator. So AI can help me in that. But the problem with AI, that AI always prioritizes, in case of illustrations, they always prioritizes aesthetics over accuracy. So that's what I found. So
Got
for
it.
a scientific researcher or something, you have to always prioritize accuracy over aesthetics. So in that
Correct.
case, just the idea I can use AI, but while making it, and obviously like imperfections are always there when you're doing it manually. So AI can make it completely perfect, which is not possible for any human being, right? So that is the thing I found, that accuracy and hallucinations, we all know, we are every day we are talking about hallucinations which AI is putting into everything. So this
Right.
thing, idea is fine.
That's great. Subiraj, what do you think about this? Yes, sir.
What I see is when I open LinkedIn, I'm flooded with every post, other post nowadays is like totally AI illustration, and like how I see it going is people, while it has democratized a lot of like learning, it has like reduced a lot of complexity and nuances. Like if at all like, just to give you an example, if at all we are speaking about a fungus eating bacteria, what it does, it caricaturizes bacteria and like it puts it into some sort of thing while actually ignoring complex pathways and all this. It is a very reductionist tool, but for brainstorming and other stuff I find it very useful. It's like very it's indispensable nowadays, and everyone are using AI, and like it's a very important tool it has become. But also like there is like other thing also. I see it's like very less traceable. You can't since the thinking in itself is in black box, when we see only outputs, we can't like credibly like say what it thought out of and what it has put out in the output. And we need to constantly re-edit it so that we bring the accuracy, as ma'am pointed out. It's always prioritizing aesthetics over accuracy. It's our own job to like rectify it time and time again to make it like a proper credible figure. That's how I see it, and I don't think it's gonna entirely replace any psychom artist, but it has replaced a lot of entry level art, and a lot of people are enjoying using it too, and I do enjoy using it sometimes. But when it comes to academic thing, we have a different set of rigor and parameters, so we need to make sure that they are putting out the best. And yeah, so that's how I see it.
That sounds great. So maybe talk also a bit about how do you see this as a profession? Is this something that you can do as a full-time thing, or is it something that you do in combination with your other profession? Where do you see this going? Maybe Sibiraj, you can start, and then yeah, you can add to that.
It's a very niche field. I've come to understand it's extremely niche. Like even among psych
Hmm.
administrators, there are like so much divisions going on. Like who only do like life sciences, because we need certain amount of technical knowledge like to like actually represent the figures what you want. The people like psychom illustrator who has a background in life sciences might not be the best fit for anything mechanical or any other field. So it's a very niche thing already, and I don't think I could like do it full time, but I'm actually freelancing on it though. I do get opportunities every now and then, and yeah, uh, that's about it.
Yeah,
Yes. So as Siviraj said, that's a niche field. So in my case, which I can feel that yes, options are there. Freelancing, as I said, is there. But along with that freelancing thing, one more thing which you can do is like create a science and art portfolio for you, because then the business scale or the business field is much more vast. Then you can dive into that part. One thing is that, and then this graphic designing will help you with a lot of networking thing, which I feel that we talk with a lot of people, and you engage with a lot of people, and you make a networking part. So eventually, if somebody is looking as graphic designing as a sole source of like career, they can obviously do it. But with this graphic designing, networking is the biggest part. And the third point is, as said, ki for graphic designing also, you have to understand some of the core knowledges of, because a lot of time authors will ask you their wired mind to declutter it, right? So you should have some kind of knowledge, because a lot of time people will say, okay fine, I have an eye diagram, but I don't know what I need to do in this eye diagram, and you find it out. So if you don't have the basic knowledge of the subject which you are working on, I think it's tough. So along with the studies, it's kind of a science and art portfolio. As I said, it's a merging of science and art, so it's important if I'm working as an illustrator.
Yeah, so
Right, right.
maybe I'll add a few points over there. And this is, you brought a very important point, which is the merger of science and art. And I think these two fields are so different in our education process that I think very few people are able to bring both of these things together. And both of you having some deep scientific backgrounds were very helpful in terms of your scientific knowledge was very helpful in creating the figures that you needed to make for this book. So I'll ask one question: if just from your inspirations, from your art, I know you started doing some art, but can you just tell us briefly? Maybe you can start with Ria and then Siviraj. Who your artist inspirations are? Which artists do you like? Which artists do you follow?
uh, as an artist, or as a photographer, I can say like it's Pablo Picasso always.
Okay.
So it's there. But as an artist, some of the Indian artists I like a lot, their
Hmm.
paintings and everything. But but as an illustrator, if you'll ask, I don't have such, because I'm working more with the scientific content, either it's
Yes.
cancer cells or either it's
Yeah. No, no.
eye,
I just,
lungs, or
yeah.
liver. Yeah.
I
Huh.
just meant artist. How about you, Siviraj?
Huh.
Any inspiration in the art field?
Yeah, I do like, a lot of like in terms of paintings, I do like postmodernist paintings, and like sometimes Renaissance paintings, but like especially for Saikam art, I don't think like there isn't like so specific inspiration. Like it comes everywhere. Like if I get a picture, if I see something that's very interesting, I just put it down in a folder, and I like take inspiration everywhere, like here, there. So it goes on. And like one person I do like this. There's this person called David. I think David Russell. He's a very good psychom artist, and I like his work very much. And yeah, sometimes I also try to imitate his work. And yeah,
Right.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So I'll give it back to you, Vihang, to sort of close the sessions then.
Yeah, yeah. This has been a very interesting discussion, especially the point that you guys made that AI tools are prioritizing aesthetics over accuracy. This is something a good insight for anybody to take home. Students should not just say that I'll design this on ChatGPT and then ignore all its inaccuracies and other hallucinations that it gives. Very insightful discussion. Thank you, both of you, for being a part of this podcast. Thank you for contributing with such great conviction to this book. I'm sure you will be ready to work with us for our upcoming assignments as well. More work will be coming to you. So,
Absolutely.
uh, yeah. So, like that, I think we can close this episode on this note. Thank you once more. And to the viewers of this channel, I hope you are able to walk out with great insights from this episode. We will meet you again in the next episode with another guest, another author of another chapter, and we will talk more about the drug development process, its insights, different angles associated with it. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, keep reading the book on Approved. Let us know what else you would like to learn. Until then, see you. Bye bye.